As the question reads, if you are a man and your relationship has reached a breaking point, do you usually try to fight to keep it or just accept it and let her go? If the woman has been trying to communicate and the man has been hurting her, and she reaches a breaking point, would you as a man try to find solutions before letting her go? Maybe fighting for is the wrong term. Story 1. If she is checked out, I am not fighting to keep her. I will have one honest conversation to see if there is something real to fix. But begging or chasing just kills your self-respect. If she wants to leave, let her. Love is a choice, not something you force. Story 2. I have always found the concept of fighting for the woman really strange. It does not matter how much I love a woman. If she has clearly stated that she does not want to be with me anymore, then that is it. If she has clearly expressed her needs and what can be improved, I am all ears. But if she wants to leave rather than work on things together, then I do not want to be with her anymore. Story 3. Why am I, as the man, the only one fighting to keep it when the other person wants to leave? If you want to leave, then leave. This is not a game. Story 4. What exactly is she doing to keep me? That is the better question. Why am I the only one fighting? No one is stopping her from leaving. Story 5. This sounds like manipulation similar to a toddler throwing a tantrum to get attention and stopping when it realizes no one is watching. Story 6. No. My wife threatened me with divorce once years ago during a fight. I told her to bring me papers. Later, when we talked about it, I told her I would never accept living under that threat. Though I love her dearly, all she has to do is bring me papers, and I will sign them. That was about 7 years ago. I have never heard it since. Story 7. I do not fight to keep anyone in my life, period. I have had some exes tell me they wanted me to chase them when they walked away, and I told them I am too grown and too old to chase anyone. That said, if they also want to fight for the relationship, I will fight with them. But I am not fighting for them. Story 8. No, she is out. If it has reached a point where I have to fight to hold things together and am somehow made to think that is the man's job, I have zero interest in being around that person. Story 9. No. Why waste both of our time that we could spend finding more suitable people? If it has reached the fighting for stage, it is already over. Also, I would not fight for the woman. I would try to salvage the relationship if it has been established that there are aspects we both need to change or improve upon if we want to stay in it. Story 10. I despise the term fighting for in the context of a relationship. What does it even mean? If she wants to leave, let her go. I am not fighting for someone who does not want to be with me, especially when fighting really means tolerating things I do not like, and my not tolerating them is the reason she wants to leave. Story 11. A relationship where only one person is putting in effort to make it work is just delaying the inevitable. Story 12. Is my behavior the reason for the breaking point? Then yes, potentially I will work on it. But that is not usually how things work. Why am I the only one expected to be fighting? Story 13. If we could not communicate and resolve issues, there is no point in fighting. When I was younger and inexperienced, I wasted many years trying to make relationships work that were not worth saving. Story 14. She's either checked out and it's over, which means there is no point in trying, or she is using it as a test, which means no point in trying. Story 15. I'll fight tooth and nail side by side with my wife. It's been 20 years we have been together, building and challenging, sometimes annoying, but always united. I have one limitation: respect. I will not tolerate disrespect. This created some friction at the beginning of our relationship, but it worked. So blatant disrespect, and I'm gone. Threat of divorce, and I'm gone. A break, and I'm gone. I will not fight for someone who is only half committed. Story 16. Breaking points exist for a reason, often many reasons. I have had relationships reach them and come back from the brink for a bit or be rekindled later, but those breaking points are not arbitrary. I will essentially fight for someone I love until that breaking point is reached. By that time, I do not think it is worth it for either of us because you are either effectively coercing your partner to move past some boundary of theirs, or you are the one being coerced. I can afford to act this way too because I do fight hard for relationships through hard times, But if we are talking about breaking points, I think those are impossible to fight back from. Story 17. It depends on the exact situation. If I have done something to ruin the relationship or at least make her feel like I have, then I would do whatever I could. If she just says, "I do not love you anymore," then no. Or if she would rather be with someone else, it is partially self-respect and partially respecting her wishes. Story 18. If they want to end the relationship, then you are long past the point of putting in more effort and changing your behavior. You have to let them go. Learn from that experience for your next relationship so it does not reach that point again. Story 19. This is not a movie with theatrics and a script. If you want a grand gesture or declaration of love, you will probably be waiting forever. If you are not happy in a relationship and your partner is not willing to fulfill what you think is missing, move on. Story 20. Edit. I'll add here, if the woman has been trying to communicate and the man has been hurting her, and she reaches a breaking point, would you as a man try to find solutions before letting her go? Maybe fighting for is the wrong term. It depends on whether she is actually reasonable. To give you a somewhat personal example, the last straw that broke my marriage was a dead bedroom. Yes, it was me not initiating and me not wanting sex either, and she eventually communicated that she felt hurt and undesired. However, she put all the responsibility on me alone. There was zero empathy on her part for the stress I was going through at the time that was killing my libido. She was unwilling to own up to how dismissive and disrespectful she treated me and how that killed my desire for her. She made no attempt to make herself more desirable, such as taking care of herself, or to figure out what I would find desirable in the bedroom. Her whole approach was that I was the man. It was my job to desire her. So my not desiring her was my failure as a husband, and I should man up and start desiring her again. This does not mean I did not contribute. I did. In fact, for the longest time I was too on board with the idea that this was my sole responsibility. I was trying to fix something by myself that required negotiation, cooperation, and honest conversations to work. But she also was not willing to cooperate. So I guess what I'm saying is that when your relationship reaches a breaking point, your man is hurting you, and you are trying to communicate this to him, you should assume that you are also hurting him, that you are part of the problem, that there are things you do that contribute to the situation and that you will have to work with him to fix the relationship. It is never just one person. Story 21. I think there are many bitter responses here from people who do not enjoy receiving negative feedback. Many of these responses are dishonest about what they would do in the situation, assuming they were still invested in the relationship. Story 22. It is a very vague question. What does fight for mean? Go to counseling because she thinks there is a problem. Yes. Cry on your knees begging her to stay after I found out she had been cheating on me? No. Story 23. Always fight for it. A marriage is not only a covenant between a man and a wife but also between them and God. Story 24. I would try up to a point. But if she wants to go, I love her enough to let her go. If she comes back, she will be more committed. Story 25. If it is about fighting, no. I am not fighting anyone to keep them kept. When someone wants to be there, then it is never a fight with them, just the rest of the world because they are always after me Lucky Charms. Story 26. If it is at that point, it is already too late. You need to put in the effort before the end, not when it no longer matters. Story 27. Since we have been through a ton together, and we have known each other since grade school, but I gave up last night after 4 years of turbulence. Story 28. If a woman wants to leave you, let her go. Depending on her reasons, it is pointless to try to convince her to stay when she believes she would be happier without you in her life. Keeping her may only make you feel miserable. Story 29. Absolutely yes, but I also have my limits. I let my ex leave without a fight because she had let us all know she was miserable for a while. She made it clear that she hated us all, and I did not see a reason to keep her trapped in her own hell. Story 30. I would not call it fighting. I would call it compromising. Would I compromise? Absolutely, up to a point. Story 31. From my experience, I was disrespected not only by her but also by her family. Being told to get a girlfriend and get her pregnant was an insult as well. Finally, being asked to leave after saying that we could work it out was the last straw, aside from discovering lie after lie. I am not saying that this applies to you, but these are the reasons why I will not fight anymore. There is no reason to spend over 10 years trying to maintain an overly demanding and toxic relationship when enough is enough. Story 32. It depends on the reason behind the choice. If she is doing it because she thinks I can do better, or she has a terminal illness and does not want me to feel sad from her passing, then absolutely. If she does so to explore other options or needs space, then no. She made that choice and gets to keep it. Story 33. I tried, begged, pleaded, and gave in to her demands. It didn't do anything but name me depressed and an alcoholic. So no, if she said I am leaving, I would pack her things. I do not have time for that. Story 34. If she is at a point where she already wants to leave, let her. Both of you have to put in effort to solve problems. It is not only the man who has to fight for it. Story 35. I stated up front when we were talking about it that I wanted to keep fighting for it because it was worth it, but when we had the conversation it was clear it was untenable, so we just went back to being friends. Forcing the issue was not going to make it better, and all it would do is make us angry and resentful over trying to save something that was not working. Story 36. No, because if she does not appreciate all that I do for my partner, I am sure I can find someone who will. I have too much respect for myself to play games. Story 37. Working on the basis for a better relationship, yes. But that is self-work we do all the time already. Relationships that derail do so because despite the self-work on both sides, they do not work out. The last thing anyone should do is ignore that and make unsustainable behavior changes just to cover that fact up. In short, no, I would not, because by then we are past the point of no return. Story 38. I did. I wanted to save my family. I broke my will and pride attempting to do so. I will not go into all of the outcomes, but I believe I am a safe friend until she finds her soulmate. Then I am pretty sure I will be forgotten like an Alzheimer's reunion. Story 39. No. The moment I have to see it as a conflict, then I am out. I am not forcing anyone to be with me if it is not genuine. Story 40. This is too open-ended and subjective to say one way or the other. There is no yes or no answer that would be satisfactory here, and there are many social aspects that can influence the situation. In general, giving up on a relationship easily is a poor quality, especially in the modern era of app dating and the commodification of relationships. However, recognizing key differences and moving on decisively is a good thing. But who decides which is which? It is very subjective. You mention a more specific quality of a relationship where the woman feels the man is hurting her. Assuming it is emotional pain, this does not fully address the cause. Yes, working together to figure out how to deal with differences is a crucial part of a relationship, but some differences are irreconcilable and others unreasonable. For example, if a vegan woman dates a non-vegan man and says that him eating meat causes her emotional harm, that is a significant request that many men would not accept, but some would. This situation varies greatly depending on local cultural views on eating meat. On the other hand, if the man is constantly making derogatory remarks toward the woman and she asks him to stop because it hurts to be degraded, is that something to be resolved? The question of why they are together at all comes to mind. Alternatively, the emotional damage might stem from minor issues such as not loading the dishwasher in a preferred manner or spending a lot of time with friends rather than together. Sometimes talking things out does not help, and he may simply brush it off. In general, it is advisable not to enter a relationship with the expectation that the partner will change. Story 41. Yes, I did. It went very badly, but I would do it all over again because now I can rest assured that I tried my best. Story 42. Not anymore. I used to be that way, but after a couple of experiences in my life, chasing the relationship is romantic comedy nonsense. If they want it, they will work with you on it. If they do not, they will just do whatever they want anyway. It is entirely pointless to try and reach someone who is done. Story 43. If they want to leave, who am I to stop them? Why would I want to be with someone who does not want to be with me? Story 44. If I feel like I'm being tested, then no. It is not really valuable to either party if the relationship survived because of a checkbox next to the "he fought for me so he really does love me" box. Men do this too. It is just immature. But if I have messed up, yes, sure. Ultimately, whatever the root problem is has to be sorted for good. If there has been a problem and it is fixable, definitely. Story 45. It's way too late if you wait for the breaking point. I would rather we part much sooner as friends, and I help her transition to the next phase of her life. If you truly love someone, you do whatever is best for them. If you are already doing what is best for them, then it is not likely ever going to hit a breaking point. I intentionally set things up so it would be logically easy for my partner to leave. I never wanted her to feel trapped. I built up her confidence and invested in her career. She does not need me anymore. I know she stays with me because she chooses to, because she loves me. Story 46. Maybe if the man was not hurting her, she would not leave. The only conflict that needs to be addressed is for the man to stop being disrespectful to her. Let her go, seek therapy, and leave her alone. Story 47. I would have done everything in my power to make her happy. If she wanted to go, why fight for her? She wants to go, and I would be happy with her decision. There is no sense in having two people unhappy. Life is far too short. Story 48. I usually just accept and walk away. I do not hold hostages. If this is about communication and we have run into a wall, and I have exhausted all of my options to improve communication, such as getting a translator, a mediator, or using other methods, then yes, I will still walk away. No one is worth shortening my lifespan for. We are simply incompatible on the subject matter. Story 49. Sounds like entitlement to me. Are men really fine with themselves enough to not try at all and just let whoever leaves them without trying to stop it? The laws of nature say the man has to court. When the woman accepts, she is all in. He will provide, as will she, each in their own way. When one stops providing, in this context, the other finds other means for survival. The female leaves searching for another mate. There will always be men in nature willing to find a mate to carry on their kin, searching for females. As long as the female can provide that, she is deemed more in demand than the male. The laws of nature have dwindled as humans have evolved, especially during the 20th and 21st centuries, when the traditional household has changed, particularly here in America. Entitlement and selfishness have overtaken the innate urge to provide and care for others and the environment. The whole, "I'm fine, I don't need you, leave me alone" attitude has taken over, and our surroundings, our children, home life, and balance in general have suffered. I'm not religious, but I do believe when you serve others, it comes back. Stop helping yourselves and help others. That's what the development of the prefrontal cortex aids in as we grow up. It's very unfortunate relationships now. Men and women need to step up and stop being so entitled. Rant over. Story 50. I ultimately realized she was gone and would never reciprocate the feelings I had for her. So I stopped fighting for her. You cannot make someone love you. Story 51. I mean, this sounds very specific and you lack context. Hurting her how? It depends on the entire situation and how it reached the point where it needs saving, as you say. There are 100 different paths to get to that point, and not all of them are worth saving, but some are. Story 52. The original post was clear to me that the question is redundant. There is some dishonesty in how the question is asked because it presents the most common perspective taken by women when it is brought up to men. At the same time, I accept that situations like this do happen. A woman can find herself in a relationship with a neglectful, passive-aggressive man or, even worse, an abusive one. So, it is rhetorical to ask this question. Isn't it obvious? What input does the original poster think men have to add that is profound or insightful that women would be unaware of? This is reflected in the answers given by a majority of respondents. It's clear they are trying to imagine themselves in a role-playing situation or revisiting their past when they found themselves in this familiar predicament, perhaps more often than they cared to be. What is it about this particular scenario? Men have realized from its similarity and repetitiveness that this is often manipulation rather than a reality where the man is truly an asshole. This is why a majority of men's responses here are hard to interpret as coming from an asshole. Though the question was not clear enough, the original poster added an edit clarifying that the man is an asshole who is neglectful. To this, I say, what perspective do you want? The only perspective worth providing is when this is used to manipulate a man. I did catch one user identifying and addressing this, and I say kudos. Also, most responses were hardly the thought process or reactions of an asshole. This brings me to women who find themselves with asshole-type partners. There is nothing to discuss here. You know what is happening, so do what you need to do for yourself. That leaves men who find themselves in this position unexpectedly, which is not always indicative of an innocent man, nor is it always indicative of a victimized or neglected woman. It is possible that both are at fault to some degree. Usually, this confrontation is presented as an ultimatum by the woman, particularly in fighting for the relationship or changing a crucial aspect of the dynamic or the man's behavior. This situation does not need to go this far to be addressed as an ultimatum. A woman knows in advance all the time, and in her mind, which is the crux of the problem, the real issue lies. Her brooding alone means that the man and what she sees in him is not the problem. She broods, usually contemplating her happiness and questioning her decision in partner selection. She wonders if she could have done better and if this man was a mistake. This leads to grass is greener syndrome and onto the keep options open phase. She broods more while becoming performative in her relationship until she has brooded enough to want to find herself again. We know what this means. It has been long enough that what she identified as a problem, which she now says the man should correct if he were a real man or truly loved her, has not been changed. This happens so often that men have accepted that if a woman disconnects in her mind, it is because she brooded on it. She brooded until she lost attraction, emotion, and respect. She had no interest in the relationship or the man. She is not a bad communicator. These are performances because she does not want to appear or be revealed in an unflattering light to the man or others. It is always easier to scapegoat the man because men are disposable. Even after this scenario, the man who walks away is said to have preserved his self-respect and dignity. Interestingly, the woman who left him might say she respects him for not making a fuss. Men who make effort to amend or find the problem and apply their nature are said to put themselves at risk by uncovering the logic behind her claims. That is why attempts to correct a problem are labeled clutching at straws, making a fuss, weak, desperate, and so on. This makes the man appear unmasculine, weak, incompetent, incapable of taking care of a woman and leading a relationship, or worse, demonized. All this is for wanting to address something he was unaware of while it was a problem for her, but she does not bring it up until too late. Her favorite response is, "You should have known." Read between the lines, read the body language, and read the signs. These are just made-up excuses to gaslight him further. She will gaslight by saying she respects a man if he lets her off the hook instead of fighting to fix the relationship. She has made her mind up. She was a coward. Let her go. Don't dig or confront. It will expose her narcissism. I am not echoing any ideology from anywhere or anyone. This is my own experience, my friend's experience, my dad's, my brother's, just men in my life. Not bias, not hatred, just truth. I have addressed every situation where women find themselves with real assholes. But the fact remains that this question has significance in manipulation in what is otherwise a simple situation to navigate. My one comment will not stop women from doing it or stop men from suffering. But if you come across this, it might bring you peace to know what you believed was true. The release from the suffocating grip of gaslighting is the ultimate relief. Take care. Story 53. Given that some women threaten to leave to provoke an emotional response from a man, if she starts doing that, I will hold the door open for her. If you want to leave so badly, sweetheart, go. If you find that the next man does not treat you as well as I did, do not come crying to me asking for a second chance because one will not be forthcoming. Story 54. I think most men's experience is that when a woman tells you that she is done, she has been thinking about it for months. The likelihood of successfully healing the situation, rather than just delaying it for a few months or a year, is very low. Story 55. I tried fighting. It ended with me homeless and finding out she cheated much more than I suspected. Not to mention a strained relationship with my daughter. At this point, I do not fight anymore. It is not worth it. Story 56. Probably not. I would just feel like we are unfortunately incompatible. I am usually already doing as much as I am willing. Typically, I will do anything she wants if she asks. If I do not, then it is probably because I do not want that to be my life to the point of being willing to step away. So no, I am not really going to fight very hard. I want a family, not a job with an employer who takes personally the things they feel I always could have done. Story 57. No. I believe in autonomy. I'm not a prison warden. If someone wants to leave, they are free to leave. If it was my current partner, I would ask her if there was anything I could do to change her mind, if it is salvageable, if she would consider couples therapy, but if she was determined to leave, I would let her go. Keeping someone in a relationship against their will, if you are not physically keeping them prisoner, you are likely just making them feel guilty enough to stay. That will only cause them to build resentment, cheat, mistreat you, or worse. Set them free. Story 58. Never again. I tried fighting for my wife for 6 months after she admitted she was emotionally distant and just wanted to stay together to raise the children and maintain the lifestyle. My efforts only pushed her further into resentment and conflict. Story 59. No. I don't want to be with anyone who doesn't want to be with me. You may see fighting for a relationship as romantic. In reality, it is controlling. It says, I know you want to leave, but your decision isn't good enough. I don't know what her trying to communicate or him hurting her means. A man can love a woman and still recognize that the stress and drama of the relationship is not worth the cost to his and her mental health. Generally, anytime someone in a relationship asks themselves, should I break up? The answer is yes. Story 60. I've been in relationships where I fought for them and it ended up being the wrong thing to do. My current relationship is beautiful. We fit well, handle conflict well, love well, and treat each other well. Neither of us hurts the other. We are deeply fulfilled and happy in the relationship. I wouldn't have found this without leaving the ones that weren't working and learning what I needed from those relationships in the process. Story 61. I once chose not to fight for a woman I loved because I wanted to continue having relationships with other women. I ended up losing her, but I had a lot of fun, and life went on. Story 62. Yes, I would do it again. I would admit my mistakes, go to therapy, get sober, say I'm sorry, and earn her forgiveness every single day she is with me because she is worth it. A woman who stays with you to your breaking point is rare. One who will stay long past it is even rarer. Story 63. Depends. What kinds of skills does she have? Boxing, Muay Thai, mixed martial arts? I don't usually like to fight girls, especially those I am romantically involved with, but I am not afraid to do so either. Story 64. Been with mine 42 years, married 40 next spring. I'm so over it, you don't even know. I'd love to be done. Still love her, but not in love with her anymore. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.